They're the
I'm sorry, maybe I can win.
Today maybe you'll win. If you're the only person, you're definitely gonna you have to win.
No. Above all, I don't know anything about the Supreme Court on the, but any case, it's okay for me to listen to you and to take advantage to this wonderful hour.
Well, you know, I think that with the Supreme Court, as always, because nobody knows anything about US presidents, I'm learning too. So I create the game so that we have fun. We learn something together because I learn when I create it. You learn when you play the game. So it's just for fun.
I'm sorry, I always could connect, but okay, I think so.
I wonder what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna just send a quick message to Simone. See who else is coming. It's my people. Only one person said she can't come. I don't know about the others. Let me just send a quick message here.
I have a competitor.
Who?
No, someone. Oh, wonderful. Someone online.
Oh, really? Let's see. Let's see who else is in. Why can't I see? I just see you. You're the competitor. It's only you. It's Bruna. You're in. I'm just seeing
to be the first. I'm sure to be
you're definitely the first.
I'm sure to be the best of the group.
Yeah, well, it's just you and me, baby. Okay, let me try. Okay, let's just start. Let's just have some fun then, right? If someone wants to watch this online, they'll watch it. If we get any news here, I'll let you know. But let's see. Let's just have fun. Okay, ready?
Oh, yes, I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, let's see. Wait. Oh, do you have bad weather there today? Is that the problem?
Yeah, it was rainy, but in the afternoon, the weather has improved, and now it's no so bad. A little bit cold or wet.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna start, you and me, okay?
Okay.
You're signed in, you're ready to go. So I'm ready to. Let me just make this picture smaller. Okay, here we go. So, okay, these are about Supreme Court cases. So we're going to learn as we go. So quiz, what acronym do Americans use to refer to the Supreme Court of the United States? Is it SCOTUS, FLOTUS, POTUS, or DOJ? Why is it? It's SCOTUS. Good job. How did you know that? Who's there?
Simone. Simone, in addition, join us.
You can play too.
I want to be.
Okay. You know how to get in? Okay. We need you to add your name then. Did you see where the
let me concentrate.
There's your PIN code is down here.
English. Switch your mind on the English language.
Because I'm studying Deutsch, so
well, that's normal.
manchmal ich spreche, I say and I think in Deutsch. So
okay, well listen, go to this website, kahoot.it, and then put in the game pin. Bruna will show you how it works because she's an expert.
Ok. Kahoot.it.
Adesso metti 59
5 9
1 6 1 5 Two.
Two.
And are your nickname?
Which can just be Simo if you want.
No.
Are you in?
Mazman.
Mazman, all right.
Look,
Super duper.
very beautiful.
Because
yeah, you got a good, you got like a brain.
My surname is Masi. So and when I played basket when I was young, my teammates called me Mazman.
Mazman.
Okay.
Like Tony Parker of San Antonio Spurs.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
So we'll start in a second, but Bruna, do you know on the first question it said SCOTUS? Do you know what SCOTUS is the acronym for?
Supreme Court
Of
Supreme Court.
No,
sorry.
It's the Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS. So what's POTUS? P. POTUS is President of the United States. FLOTUS, FL. Yeah, FLOTUS is the First Lady. So it's you know, Mrs. Biden is FLOTUS. So if you go to Twitter or X or whatever, if you look up POTUS, it'll be Biden. Okay. Here we go. You ready, Simone?
I'm ready.
Here we
born ready.
Good. True or false? SCOTUS is the highest court in the federal judiciary. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the federal judiciary in America.
SCOTUS is the highest.
SCOTUS means Supreme Court of the United States. It's true. You're very good.
I don't see the question. You have okay.
Yeah, you have to.
I must read on the monitor and then answer on my phone. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. So you have to read. So I try to read them to you so that you can also hear them. So the Supreme Court of the United States is now what we're going to call the Supreme Court. Okay. So when you see SCOTUS, you know we're talking about the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Oh, you both got it right. Bruno's a little faster and she started before you. So you have to go fast and be accurate, be correct.
Because I don't read
you have also to choose the answer very fast if you want
more points.
But okay, now I understand how is the game. Okay.
Exactly. It takes a couple times to get it. Now you've got it.
No,
that's why Bruna is an expert.
I'm gentleman.
True or false? SCOTUS deals with state law. True or false? Does it have to do with the states? True or false? It's false because it actually deals with the federal government, so it's higher than the states.
Okay? Deals, what means?
The Supreme Court handles it. Only takes cases to deal with. Gestire is deal with. Okay. So the Supreme Court does not talk about state laws. It only talks about federal laws. So things that have to do with the entire country. So federal, we say the entire country. States are individual states. So in this case, the Supreme Court only talks about things that are at the United States level, the national level. Okay.
Very, very bad.
Okay, you both stayed the same on that one. There you go. Here we go. Next one. Quiz. You can answer more than one thing. SCOTUS is the guardian of this living document. Is it the Federalist Papers? Red. Yellow, the Articles of the Confederacy. Blue, the U.S. Constitution. Or green, the Bible? It's the U.S. Constitution. The Federalist Papers, if you remember, were it was the marketing for the U.S. Constitution. When they made the Constitution, they need to sell it to the people. They need to say, here's why it's a good idea. And that's what the Federalist Papers are. The Articles of the Confederacy it was the Constitution before the Constitution. And so the Constitution came later. Definitely not the Bible. You know what that is.
Okay, I remember something from my 3 exam at university. I study the history of the United States. Okay,
Oh,
so
good. So you might
two
some things might come to you, some things not, right?
the two advanced exams are on the president, all the president of the United States,
Oh
and
my goodness.
who's it? The politics.
Politicians.
No, politics. Estera, politica estera.
Foreign.
Oh, okay, so foreign affairs.
News, and
this is really an unfair competition.
Yeah, this is not fair at all, is it,
between
Bruna?
me
Well,
and
Bruna, I'm coming, Bruna, I'm coming.
yeah. Simone is going to catch up with you. Bruna has the technical, she has the technical know-how. She knows how the game works, but we'll see. We'll
I was
see.
sure today to be the winner, and now
I give you
You're
one
still
question.
the winner. You're still the winner.
I give you one question to vantage.
Okay, well, let's see. Here's the next one. Oh, this is multi-select. You can have more than one answer. The Supreme Court, red, has 9 justices. Yellow has 1 Chief Justice. Blue was established in Article 3 of the Constitution. Green, justices have lifetime tenure. You can answer more than one thing. Bruna knows my trick. Oh, almost. So Bruna knows that I go for all of them. So it's true that the Supreme Court has 9 justices who are basically, it's another word for a judge. There's 1 Chief Justice who's like the head of, who speaks on behalf of everyone or decides who is going to give the opinion. Yes, it was established in Article 3 of the Constitution. If you remember our last Kahoot, there's Article 1 and Article 2 talk about the president and Congress, and then of course the third branch, which is the judiciary branch, which is the Supreme Court. How did it go? Oh, interesting. Bruna, you're still ahead, but Simone is he's going to get there maybe. We'll see. True or false? The first Chief Justice, John Jay, was one of the framers of the Constitution. It's true. So John Jay was not only he wrote part of the Constitution, he also wrote a lot of the Federalist Papers. So he really knew the law. So if he was going to have to enforce the law, he knew everything about it because he was one of the writers of it. Good job, Simone. You've got a streak with 3 answers in a row. There you go. Quiz. How many court decisions have been handed down since 1789? That means how many decisions have been made? 1,000 red, 25,500 yellow, 10,000 blue, and 250 green. It's actually yellow. 25,500. That's how many they've done since then. They do about 70 per year, I think. True or false? POTUS chooses SCOTUS justices. Remember, POTUS is the president. Does the president choose the Supreme Court justices? True or false? It's true. This is why it is devastating when one of the justices who might be a Democrat or Republican, when they retire or when they die, because that sitting president has the right to choose the next justice. And if the president agrees with you, then that can go well. But if the president is not one that you support, it can be really bad. My favorite justice was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG. She died, very liberal. She died, and Donald Trump was able to appoint 2 justices, one who was at the end of Obama's term and one during his term. So now we have a very right-leaning court. Oh, it's very close here. True or false? When SCOTUS makes a decision, it is normally definitive. True or false? Normally. There are exceptions. Yes, almost always a law that is when the Supreme Court makes a decision, it's very difficult for that to be overturned because of something called precedent, which is what our system is based on. So basically, if a law was decided one way in the past, you normally respect that. Interesting. Quiz. This legal concept has played a central role in court decisions for 1,000 years. Honesty, red. Yellow, curiosity. Blue, articles. Or green, precedent. Exactly. Just like I just said, precedent is what makes it so that once a decision is made, it's very difficult for them to change it after that. Bruna has a streak. Well done. True or false? Legal precedent says like cases should be decided alike. True or false? Okay, it's true. So I believe that your system does not go on precedent. Yours is like you interpret the law directly. But in American jurisprudence or jurisprudence, I should say, decisions are made based on earlier decisions. So they're interpreted once and then basically you follow that. Oh, Bruna, a streak of 4. Good job. Simone, what's going on? You got to go faster. Ready? Can you hear me? Uh-oh, I can't hear you guys. True or false? SCOTUS is one of 3 branches of government. It's true. But you know what? I'm gonna pause my share for a second to see you guys. Let's see. Because I can't see you guys. I'm gonna go like this. Are you still there? Can you, okay, because you're muted. That's why I can't hear you. Can you unmute?
I don't understand why.
Okay, so you're muted. You can hear me okay though, right?
No, we hear you. Maybe you don't hear us.
I couldn't hear you. Okay, now I know you're here. I thought, where did they go? Maybe they're not there.
Which branch of government is SCOTUS?
SCOTUS
Legal?
is the judicial branch. Judicial.
Judicial.
There's
Okay.
3. There's the executive branch, which is the president. There is the
executive president, legal, the parliament.
Yeah, no, there's a different word for it. I just wrote it down. The legislative, sorry.
Legislative,
Coming to me. The
Executive.
legislative branch is Congress.
Congress.
And
the
then, of
two
course,
camera, the two
the House and the Senate.
okay, all of two.
Yeah,
okay.
both of them. And
both
then,
of them. Both of them.
so yeah, those are the 3 branches that are meant to kind of balance each other out. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, Bruno's she's still ahead. Quiz. Dred Scott versus Sanford is often credited for giving way to what war? The Civil War, red. Vietnam War, yellow. Blue is the Korean War or War of the Worlds, green.
No, Bruna, Civil War. Civil War. Abraham Lincoln in this year.
So,
yeah. The year. Oh, yeah.
War of the Worlds, 1915, other 1914.
Civil War.
No, the War of the Worlds is like a video game. It's not World War I or World War II.
Because
yeah, if you looked at the dates.
The year.
I'm graduating history, so if I wrong this question, I give away, and I jump off the window.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Can I tell you something about the court decision? So Dred Scott versus Sanford. Dred Scott and his wife Harriet were they were slaves in Missouri. Okay, the state of Missouri, which was a slave state. It was legal to have slaves. But there was a law in Missouri that said 2 things. It said that it was possible to sue, which means fai la denuncia, like you could do a causa, you could sue the state if you were enslaved wrongly, okay? If there was a reason that you were made a slave or you shouldn't be. They also had a second law that said that if you are a slave and you are taken to a free state, like in the North, at that time, Illinois was a free state, Wisconsin was a free state, anything in the North, then if you went back to Missouri, you could not be enslaved again. So Dred Scott did this, was probably helped by other abolitionists who wanted to finish slavery. They won the first time in the Missouri court. They lost the appeal. Okay, so they lost the second time. It went to the Supreme Court and they lost, which is devastating. It was in 1857. Slavery was still a thing. And but they ended up being free anyway later on, but not because of their rights. It was not because they had a right to be free. It was only because the woman who owned them, her name was Irene something. I just liked her name, like Irene, Irene. Her name was Irene Emerson, and she married a U.S. congressman. So and he was an abolitionist. So when she married this man who was against slavery, he was so embarrassed that she had slaves that she had to sell them. So she didn't free them. She sold them to another person and took the money. She sold them to the original owner. And the original owner just let them free. So 10 years after they started their legal fight, they were finally freed, but not because of the law. But the important thing about Dred Scott, besides being a very unfair case, was the fact that it really did give rise to a big movement against slavery and, of course, the Civil War. So that's where that comes from. So when you hear Dred Scott, you'll think of like, ooh, unfair, ooh, unfairly enslaved, bad decision.
Okay. Let me see. I'm behind you.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Next. Your breath on my neck.
Yes.
Plessy versus Ferguson from 1896 is known as the separate but equal case. True or false? It's true. I know. Don't worry. It's normal not to know this. So Plessy versus Ferguson is another one of those court cases that now we look at it is very unfair and sad and horrible. But basically, this came up from the state of Louisiana, which was in the South. And this was after slavery was finished, okay? But it was a time where in Louisiana, there was a law that said that people of color, Black people, could take the train, but they had to be on a different car than white people. The man in this case, Plessy, was actually in his blood, he was 7/8, this is how, Americans are so crazy. 7/8 white. There was a tiny drop of Black blood in him somewhere, so he was considered Black. But he questioned this law, saying that it was a violation of rights that are guaranteed under the Constitution because it treated one group of people in an inferior way. He lost this court case because the Supreme Court at that time, which we know was more of a, it was a different time. Black people were not guaranteed the same rights as white Americans. But what they said was, no, it's not violating your rights because you still have the same quality of car. It's just, so it's separate, but it's the same. Okay, so that's where the separate but equal came up. So this is when we had separate water fountains for children, separate schools for people. So as long as they were equal, then it was okay. So this was basically segregation, okay?
And we must wait Rosa Parks.
Right. A lot of other things are going to happen in the meantime, but this was the legal justification for segregation. It was justified under the 14th Amendment.
I remember. I
You
remember
study that, I
something,
hope. Martin Luther
something from
King.
university.
Yeah. Quiz. In Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, was declared unconstitutional. Alcohol on Sundays, red. Women voting, yellow. Racial segregation in public schools, blue. Green was slavery. Yes, you got it. So this is basically this is the decision that overturned Plessy versus Ferguson. It only took, what, 60 years, but this was because what came out of this was that in Plessy versus Ferguson, they said separate is fine as long as they are equal. In Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, they said separate is never equal. Separate is inherently unequal. So this overturned everything, segregation, etc. Okay. And times had changed in the meantime. You know, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all these people, all these examples, all these protests. So in the meantime, the culture changed. And so that kind of made it, there was an opening for that kind of decision to be made. So as you know, times change and people's opinions change and people's interpretations change.
Yeah.
All right.
The World War II, it's
World War
most
II, sure.
important.
That
Yeah.
changed a lot too. Absolutely.
Very black military.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Fought for USA, so
absolutely. So we're gonna move ahead here. Let's see. Mapp versus Ohio, 1967, created a code of conduct to regulate and protect rights. Was it police, criminals, children, parents, teachers, the accused, emotions, animals? Yes, you saw the image probably, right? The image of...
it's no, it's also it's one of the most problem in the contemporary society of USA. I
Of course,
think,
right.
so there is a very, very, very that's Martin.
Right, because of police
very
brutality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Constitution, or the defining what police can and cannot do is fundamental part of the Supreme Court's job. So the story behind this decision, this happened in Ohio, as it says, right? Because the state of Ohio, there was a woman named Dalrymple Mapps, a really strange name, or Map, I should say. She was suspected of hiding a bomber in her house, someone who was, had already, detonated some bomb somewhere. So when she was not home, the police entered her home and they did not get a search warrant. So they didn't have a piece of paper that said it was okay to enter the house. So while they were in the house, though, they did not find the suspect they were looking for. They did not find the bomber. What they found instead were books and images, probably pornography, I can imagine. They don't say that, but these inappropriate images, they say, that violated Ohio law. Okay, so they went in for one thing, but found evidence of a different criminal activity. Then, okay, so that's
okay.
We know now that that's not good. Then the lawyer for this woman came home and wanted to see her client, and the police said no. And at the same time, they arrested her. They arrested the woman for resisting them, for asking for a warrant, okay, for asking for that piece of paper and not being collaborative. So she took this to the Supreme Court. She won, and of course, it's protected by, I think it's the Fourth Amendment that says that you can't just go into someone's house without a warrant, and you can't just search for things and then take things that belong to a different case when you don't have any reason to do that. So that's a very important decision, because it helps regulate police conduct, and it protects the rights of people who are accused and even criminals as well. Uh-oh. Simone is catching up. Quiz.
The winter is coming.
Yeah. Loving versus Virginia from 1967 established that state laws prohibiting marriage were unconstitutional. Is it gay marriage, interracial marriage, traditional marriage, or child marriage? It's interracial. If you look at the year, the year is 1967. And the story here is interesting. In 1967, there were only, out of 50, there were 16 states that still had old laws on their books that prohibited marriage between Black people, white people, just interracial marriage in general. So this particular couple, last name Loving, I love the name is, Loving is a great last name for people in this situation. They went to Washington, D.C., because in Virginia, where they lived, there was it was against the law. So they went to Washington, D.C., they got married, then they came back to Virginia, and they were arrested because they were an interracial couple. They even were sent to jail for 1 year, but the judge decided to say, listen, I will postpone your sentence for 25 years, but you need to leave the state. But of course, they did not want to leave the state. But they lost their case, stating that the state of Virginia said that no, it's right for us to want to preserve the racial purity of our state. Well, the Supreme Court immediately overturned that, saying that law was based on racial discrimination, which was no longer acceptable. So that's what happened there. So it's crazy to think that in 1967, it was still a crime to be in an interracial marriage in 16 different states.
I see.
There we go. You have a right to remain silent when you get arrested comes from this Supreme Court decision. We see this in police movies. Is it Steckley versus Meng or Miranda versus Arizona? It's Miranda versus Arizona. Steckley versus Meng is me and my husband.
Your iPhone if you push like this.
It doesn't catch my touch.
If you want,
it didn't get it. You have to upgrade.
If you want an hammer.
If you want a hammer.
But
yeah.
It's my opinion, or all of the states are in the south of USA. Ohio,
so far,
Virginia.
maybe, well, they aren't always. The ones that I chose probably because these are the ones that really changed in the 20th century. So of course I did ones that have to do with civil rights as well. Miranda versus Arizona. Well, Arizona's on the other side. It's in the west, but it's in the south. It's not considered the south though. But this was
South-Sudisti. I don't know in English the word. Okay, in Italy, in Italian, nordisti versus sudisti. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
During the Civil War. Okay.
Okay. Sure, what we call them, the Confederates or the
Federate and Confederation.
Yeah, it's the Confederate States and I can't remember the Confederate. I would think of as the South. The Northern states.
All of the states are made of Confederation.
Okay, yeah.
General Lee.
The General Lee that's the South though. That's Confederate.
Yeah.
Confederate States versus American Civil War. Who was it? The North, the Confederacy. I'm looking just on Wikipedia here.
The Union, okay, the Union and
the Union and the Confederate States. There you go. Now, I want to go back quick to the Miranda rights. So
versus Langer.
That's Caroline. It's me. It's fake.
It's you.
In
Fake,
2000,
In 2010.
it's totally
so
fake.
late.
Yeah. So when someone did you ever see in a police movie when they arrest someone, they say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to call a lawyer. You've one phone call. This all is called the Miranda rights. When a police officer arrests you in America, they must tell you what your rights are at that moment. You have the right to be quiet because if you speak, maybe you will say something against yourself, and that isn't correct unless you have a lawyer with you. So that's what the Miranda rights are about. Just making sure, again, it's protecting the rights of someone who is accused of a crime.
It's the same in Italy. Hai il diritto di rimanere in silenzio, qualsiasi cosa.
Exactly. It's the same thing.
Voglio un avvocato.
I want a lawyer.
Exactly. You have the right to.
Now.
Gideon versus Wainwright, 1963, states an individual has a right to representation by a legal guardian, red, yellow judge, blue lawyer, green teacher. Yes, it's a lawyer. So, yeah, this is the case of if a criminal doesn't have enough money if it's a federal crime. So again, it has to be a big enough offense. If it's a federal crime, you have the right to a lawyer, even if you don't have the money to pay a lawyer. You would get a public prosecutor or public defender, we would say, someone who will represent you. Bruna is on fire.
Yeah.
Quiz. Roe versus Wade said that laws against violated the 14th Amendment. Alcohol red, swearing yellow, abortion blue.
The picture
How
is
did you
too
know?
easy.
See, I help you whenever I can. You cannot say that I don't help
another
you.
one.
No,
Okay, but if I take 20 points for question, I never win.
Yeah, you got to go super fast.
Very competitive, Simone.
Yeah,
I know, super competitive.
He should be.
I made sports for.
Be with Lanfranco.
Yeah, Lanfranco, him too. Yeah,
I
he'll
made
say
sports
it's the wording of the
40
question was
years.
wrong.
A good reason for not to be no longer competitive.
Too competitive.
Because you have already done.
Here we go. Next. True or false? Dobbs versus Jackson overturned Roe versus Wade. It's true. This was one time where precedent did not count. They went completely against precedent. So even though Roe versus Wade guaranteed a constitutional right to an abortion, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization 2022 overturned that earlier decision. But interesting that and this is also in part because the new justices on the Supreme Court who were appointed by Donald Trump are very right wing. So in fact, very evangelical, sort of religious people who had already stated that was their, they said it wasn't their intention, but according to everybody who knew, that was sort of their intention, was to go in and do that. Interesting though, now there are, I think, 35 states at the current moment that actually guarantee a woman's right to have an abortion anyway, even without that decision. So interesting that after it was overturned, many different states worked to change their own laws so that women could still have that protection. But there are many states that don't, or that made their laws even more restrictive. Bruna, look at you. Bruna might win this time.
Bruna is on fire.
Yeah. True or false? Donald Trump has gone up against the Supreme Court. It's true. And he is won 40% of the time.
100.
He usually loses because but almost every president has gone up against the Supreme Court. But in the recent years, they seem to be losing more. In the earlier years, they almost always won. But Donald Trump is the biggest loser against the Supreme Court at 40%. I think the next person is 60% winning rate. Oh. Multi-select. Who was notorious RBG? A Supreme Court justice, red. A liberal judge, yellow. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, blue. Green, a cultural icon. You can have more than one answer, of course. She was all of them. And I put this because this was the collar that she wore. She recently died. She became a cultural icon. She's so famous that I even have her doll. I'll show it to you in a second. Okay. I'll show you her in a second. Okay, in third place, nobody. In second place, Simone, yay! In first place, dun da da da.
If grande Bruna.
Yay!
But
Are you
if,
so happy,
if
Bruna?
I answer at the first, I don't know what is the
Well,
rest.
you were pretty close. 13, almost 14, you know. I mean, it was that. But
I made 1,500 points in the last question.
yeah, well, this time this time it went that way. But let me show you my dolly. This is my Ruth Bader Ginsburg doll. On the side, it says, I don't know if you can read it, says, I dissent. She was famous for,
I dissident.
you can't really see it, can you?
Okay, I dissent.
And then on the back, it has like her symbol, which is her necklace.
No places where decisions are being made.
But she
Wonderful.
comes, I have her, I love dolls. So I have Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I also have, just because I thought if I'm going to show you my political dolls, I have to show you my Kamala Harris doll. She's the vice president of the United States right now, and it says on the side, for the people. Also a lawyer. But I really, really love my Ruth Bader Ginsburg doll is a prized possession for me. I love her. My mother bought me these dolls, and I have to show them off. I just love them. So tell me, what did you learn today in our quiz?
Bruna.
Yeah, as always, there are so many information that I need time to let things, any case.
It's true.
No.
Well, why don't you just give me a reaction then? Did you like it? Was it interesting for you?
Yes, absolutely. A little bit too fast for me to enjoy and to yes think about a little bit because it's very fast the game.
Yeah.
And
sorry about that.
No. This is the game for me. It's good only to say that it's very difficult for me to make comments or because now I am and then Simone was here and make me very upset and anxious and very nervous because
I'm
it was important to have some competition, Bruna. We can't just win automatically. You have to earn your win.
I'm
a gentleman. I let you win.
Very upset and worried about the result of the game.
I give you the victory.
Well, but there were what I think 5 or 6 films about her. She's amazing. She was the first, not the first woman on the Supreme Court, but her husband could have also gone to the Supreme Court, but he pushed her ahead. So her husband was a very big feminist, and she's just so cool. Every film, if you see a film about Ruth Bader Ginsburg on Netflix, watch it. It's amazing. She was such an interesting person. I just read a book about her recently that another woman journalist wrote. So this journalist who worked for National Public Radio was always interviewing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And when Ruth Bader became a widow, when her husband died, she became sort of good friends with this other woman when her husband died. And so this book is just about their conversations, and it is lovely. My mom gave it to me for Christmas, and I'm like savoring this book. I read it, but I'm kind of going back to it as well because it's just so interesting to read what she had to say. Just such a visionary and so good. I love it. So that's Ruth Bader. She's our favorite. Right now, we don't, right now there is a lot of controversy on the Supreme Court because of some corruption and particularly with Clarence Thomas, who's an African American on the Supreme Court, who's actually a big Republican. So it's very sad because it comes out with he's accepting trips with rich millionaires and things. So, and then it comes out that other people are also accepting gifts and then not reporting them. So there's a little bit of a moment where people don't feel very good about the Supreme Court, and especially how the last two justices were appointed. There were some questions about it being sort of not particularly, well done. So anyway, but that's all I have to say about the Supreme Court today. That's where we went. Anyway,
Okay.
tell me what else. Simone, how's your English? You're doing a good job.
Thank you. It's long time that I don't speak English. Why? When I no, see, because okay, sorry. Because when I'm arrived in Bolzano 5 years ago, I begin to study Deutsch.
Where did
So
you come from before
so
that, Simone? Where did you arrive from?
Florence.
Ah, from Florence.
I
Okay.
was born and I live in Florence for 35 years. And then I arrived here because my fiance and my daughters are the first daughter was born in Florence, but the second was born here.
Okay,
So I searched job here.
Okay, so your partner is from Bolzano?
No.
Eggenthal, Valdega.
Interesting.
Wonderful.
Bruna, where did you come from?
Yeah, my daughters are in Italian bilingue in
Bilingual school. Good for them. Now,
yeah.
Bruna, where did you come from?
I was born in Bolzano, but my parents were born both in Trento, but near to Bolzano. Yes.
Do you speak German?
Yes, I could, and I enjoyed the Sprache, the language, but I have so little, so little chance, so few opportunities to practice, to speak.
Oh, really?
And in the long run, I lost most of my fluency. And overall, in the meantime, I fell in love with English because it's not easier, but at the beginning you can speak and understand in short time. Yes. Then it's very, very difficult to the problem to understand and also the little things, but it's very, very nice for me to go on.
English helps me when I begin to study Deutsch. Many German, Deutsch, many words are similar.
Sure. It's in the same language family, sure.
Yeah, flieg and fly, ich,
House.
Perché volevi dire prima, in tedesco avresti detto perché.
Warum, esatto.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. But, you know, in the end, sometimes it feels like our languages are in conflict, but actually they reinforce us. They help us a lot. So very interesting. Tell me, Simone, do we have a meeting next week or is it the week after?
On 6th of November.
November 6th. Okay, perfect.
No, 6, 8 November. Oddio, Mittwoch. It's Wednesday in German.
Okay,
No,
so Wednesday in 2
weeks. I have a lot of confusion in Deutsch in my mind because I take the B1 in Deutsch.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I have B2 in English. B twice.
No.
Me too, B twice. That's good. That's a high level. You're independent in both of them. That's very good. Good. Well, thank you for being with us today.
I speak a lot in Florence because I work in big events like Pit Imagine,
Sure.
the world champions of cyclism
Cycling.
in 2013. They run in Florence and other events. So I was the chief of press town.
Nice, the press office. Very good.
I talked with all the journalists in the world. All of it's a very fun job. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, it's very funny. But for me, it's very funny.
Great.
And in the end, most important, I spoke with a lot of students and tourists, Americans and English. So Florence is the Disneyland of American girls and boys. Students.
I can imagine.
They
Oh,
come in Florence and they drank a lot. It's incredible.
Yeah.
In the center of Florence, there is
it's famous.
100 students, university students that
just
also English people
in America,
Yankshire.
In USA, in United States, they can't drink because
because they're too young. You have to be 21.
Because they are too young. In Italy, they can.
Because
in USA, you can drink if you
have to be 21 years old.
You are not 21, 11. You can drive at 60 years old, but you can drink until 21 years.
Yeah, they made a decision like drinking or driving, but that's how it went. Good. Well,
incredible.
I will see you two in 2 weeks then.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Good job today.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline.
Bye, Bruno. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.